This day is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy to see if you could save when you bundle your home and auto policies. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states. Hello and welcome to This Day in Esoteric Political History from Radiotopia. My name is Jody Avirgan. This day, December 1956, President Dwight Eisenhower is on his annual sabbatical, his holiday leave to Georgia, and specifically to the Augusta National golf course. Ike had just won re-election in a bit of a landslide, but there were, of course, many serious issues facing the country. Rising inflation, the year-long Montgomery bus boycott had just come to a close. Southern states were increasingly resistant to desegregation efforts. The world was in dire straits. There's an uprising in Hungary, conflicts in Syria and Iraq. And Ike is down at the golf course in Augusta, Georgia. And one of the biggest things on his mind is a tree on the left side of the 17th fairway. Ike went so far as to attend the board meeting of Augusta National and demand that this tree be cut down. So let's talk about Ike versus the tree, Ike and golf. And to quote friend of the show, Alexis Coe, how presidents are people too. This is, I would say, a very humanizing moment for Ike, his vendetta against this one tree. But let's see if Nicole Hemmer of Vanderbilt and Kellie Carter-Jackson agree. Hello there.
Hey, Jody.
Hey there.
Now, wait a second. We had an episode where Dwight Eisenhower also went to war against a squirrel.
Multiple squirrels, and it was golf-related.
Yeah.
Because they were invading his...
All right.
No.
I'm just saying, he's not going to win Environmentalist of the Year.
I was actually thinking... I was going to bring that up, that Ike versus the squirrels thing, because if you recall, it's one of the sort of wilder episodes we've ever done, because Ike basically resorted to like psychological warfare against squirrels that were digging holes in his White House golf course. So I think actually, let's rerun that. We're going to rerun that in a couple episodes because it does pair nicely with this as a little set piece of Ike versus things that are getting in the way of his golf game. But
and when he's up against
priorities.
Right. He's up against a tree, and a tree doesn't have ears, so he just has lost his ability to psychologically torture it with loud music.
Can we set this context of Eisenhower and golf? I mean, a lot of presidents have liked golf. Also, a friend of the show, Don Van Natta, has written, I think, a whole book about presidents and golf. What is Ike's relationship with golf?
Ike was an avid golfer. He loved to golf.
Is avid mostly used when describing golfers, by the way?
I think so. I don't think that I've used it in any other context, but it feels right when talking about golf. It's all he does. He plays golf all the time. No, but he's invited to become a member of Augusta National in 1948. This was a golf course that had been developed in the early 1930s. They start the Masters there in order to try to draw people in, but it's in the middle of the Great Depression and there's a war. And they're like, how are we going to get people to come to the middle of nowhere, Georgia, in order to play golf? And one of the things they do is they invite Dwight Eisenhower there. He's a huge celebrity at the time, just back from beating the Nazis, and he plays at Augusta, and he really, really likes it. So he remains a member of the club, a regular visitor to the club, even during his 2 terms in the White House. The funny thing about Ike is that he loved to play, and I actually really like this about him, he loved to play golf. He was very bad at it. He was very bad at it, and he was kind of like, you know what? I'm good at a lot of things. You know all the things I'm good at. I'm bad at golf, and that's fine. So he would wear this campaign button that said, "Don't ask me what I shot," which is awesome.
By the way, as a war hero, maybe there's a second meaning for that.
I know,
right?
the pun. Yeah, play
or as someone who went after those squirrels and I think did try and shoot some of them. That could have been related to
Yeah.
he was talking about his golf swing.
I do like that you're reading it more broadly.
I know.
And there was actually this really popular bumper sticker during the 1956 re-election campaign that read, "Ben Hogan for president. If we're going to have a golfer, let's have a good one." There's this real sense that, Ike is bad at golf, but he loves golf, so let the man play his game.
It just occurred to me that a lot of presidents who are golfers, including the former and incoming one, refuse to admit that they're bad at golf. But generally speaking, I'm sort of formulating this thought in real time, but is golf one of the kind of only places where like alpha males will admit some weakness? Like you do hear like a lot of people talk about how they're kind of not great at golf and make fun of themselves. Ike does it. I mean, like just like Charles Barkley does it. Like a lot of just prominent people I've heard just kind of like admit that it's really hard to get better at golf, and I think that's one of the appeals of it. It's just always out of your grasp. But it's like these are not men who are wired to admit any weakness at all, and it's just funny that in this particular lane, you often do hear them say, like, "Yeah, I'm not good at something."
Yeah, Eisenhower's just terrible at it, and especially when it comes to this one tree that has become like a magnet to all of his golf balls.
Yeah, I love that.
He cannot seem to hit around this tree, to hit over this tree, to hit away from this tree. Like, he is always hitting this one same tree, and it is driving him bonkers so much to the point where, like, there's an Augusta board meeting. And like the co-founder of the Augusta Nationals, Clifford Roberts, is at this meeting, and he's a little terrified that Eisenhower is going to bring it up, and he's going to be like, "Hey, we need to cut this tree down." And he's like, "We don't want to cut down any trees. We're trying to preserve, the way that the golf course looks." And so before I can interject with his demand, once they get to that point in the meeting, he's like, "Actually, meeting adjourned," and does not allow Ike at all to like come in and make this suggestion. It was kind of his way of trying to keep the peace by avoiding the conversation altogether. But it's just something that came up all the time, this tree.
I mean, Roberts, who's a co-founder of Augusta, at one point gives a report on a board meeting, and he says, "The president once again took over by announcing in a most serious vein that the chief torment and concern of his life was the big pine tree located in the left center of the 17th fairway." But if you are referring to it as he once again took over, clearly there's a pattern there.
It's like, not again. Please don't call on him. Don't make eye contact.
But I love that this man who at this point is the president of the United States is spending his time at Augusta, and he's going into these meetings, and he's acting like the annoying person at the HOA meeting who is just like, excuse me, they have painted their house a shade of ecru that is not approved. Except in this case, it is this, tree that has defeated the man who beat the Nazis.
Yes.
This tree should be in a museum.
Hey, it's Jody, and as you likely know, it is the Radiotopia fundraiser right now, and more specifically, it is nearing the end of the Radiotopia fundraiser. Now, before you throw confetti in the air to celebrate, I do have to say there is still time for those of you who have not supported to become members of Radiotopia. And we have a goal of 2,024 donors before the end of the year. We are just about halfway there, so some work to do. If you are one of those hang around and see kind of people, now is the time. If you're listening to the sentence that I'm speaking right now, take a moment to think about what that means. It means you're the kind of person who likes this show enough that you are still listening to a fundraiser pitch let me look at my watch here, about 27 seconds into this thing. That probably means you like this show and you like the work that I and NIki and Kellie, not to mention Jacob and Brittany and Kala, do. By supporting, you're helping us make exactly the show we want, but also casting a vote for independent media, which needs all of the help it can get right now. $20, $5 a month, $10 a month, $7,000 a month. Figured I'd throw that out there just in case. Anything you can do to go from listener to supporter at whatever level works for you, it means so much. And as a token of our gratitude, when you donate today, you will also get access to the list of our favorite things curated by me and all of the producers at Radiotopia. It is actually a pretty incredible collection of recommendations. So head on over to radiotopia.fm/donate to donate today. Write a little note saying you're supporting this day. Once again, that's radiotopia.fm/donate. And thank you so much.
We want to tell you about another podcast from PRX called Monumental. This podcast explores questions about the past, present, and future of U.S. monuments, uncovering the stories about what and who is important, as well as the stories that have been left out. Join host Ashley Seaford across the country with their team of journalists. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
As you start to think about the gifts you'll get people this holiday season, keep in mind that it is really wonderful when you can get someone a gift that they wouldn't necessarily get for themselves. Maybe a little bit of luxury that they don't know that they're missing. For quality gifts at an affordable price, my go-to is Quince. Quince lets you treat your loved ones or yourself to everyday luxury at an affordable price. Honestly, I think of Quince as that secret hack that your most stylish friend has. You're always wondering, how do they know the angles to step up their style game? Well, this is the angle. You can get a cashmere sweater for $50. I, not the most stylish person in the world, but someone who likes to step it up from time to time, I have a pair of linen pants from Quince, $49. I got a linen shirt to pair with it, $29. That's right, I'm going head to toe linen. I do that from time to time. Quince has got jewelry, Italian leather handbags, European sheet sets, whatever you're looking for. All Quince items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. And they're able to do that because they partner directly with top factories, cutting out the cost of the middleman, passing the savings right on to you. So it's time to gift luxury this holiday season without the luxury price tag. Go to quince.com/thisday for 365-day returns plus free shipping on your order. That's QUINCE.com/thisday to get free shipping and 365-day returns. All right, now you know the secret hack. Quince.com/thisday. By the way, Dave Anderson, who is a brilliant writer for the New York Times, columnist for the New York Times, once wrote about this tree, describing it. Says it's a big, wide loblolly pine. Loblolly is a kind of pine with slender needles, but he says it's a big, wide loblolly pine with sprawling boughs that from the 17th tee blocks the left side of the fairway the way that Shaquille O'Neal blocks the lane. And Ike would just continually hit the tree or be under the tree just over and over and over, to the point where, as we're describing, it drives him crazy. He tries all sorts of tactics to get it shut down, including extrajudicial tactics, right? He doesn't just take this to the board. There's stories that he tried to bribe someone with $100 to just go in the middle of the night and cut this thing down.
A caddy. I'll give you $100 if you cut this thing down.
100 seems low.
100 seems really low, even in those dollars.
I'm sure there are bigger fees.
Like, that caddy's never working at Augusta again if he cuts down that tree. You got to give the man a pension for life, Ike.
Make it worth it. Make it worth it.
But I will say, it does seem that this tree, which obviously goes down in lore as the Eisenhower tree, might be cursed. Because Tiger Woods is shooting under this loblolly pine. And he injures his left knee and his Achilles tendon trying to get around this tree. This tree is thirsty for golf balls and maybe human sacrifice.
Yeah.
So this is where I give Ike some legitimacy, because I'm like, okay, if Tiger Woods can't shoot around it, then maybe he's got a point.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, well, if you suck at golf, then fine. It makes sense that you want it down. But if you're a pro and you still can't play with this tree, maybe it should go.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think part of it is also where the hole is located. So they moved the holes around. But for a long time, the hole was kind of like you basically have to go through or around or most successfully over this tree in order to get to the hole. That was usually the strategy, just for people who could actually pull that off, was to bomb the ball over the tree. But then, they moved the hole in the late 90s. And then in the 2000s, it became an issue again. And then Tiger Woods has his run-in with the tree in the 2011 and gets injured while trying to hit a shot out from under it. But who has the last laugh here? Because that tree is no longer there.
God has the last laugh.
God. Yeah. So Ike
Mother
finally
Nature,
gets
if you
his
would
wish.
prefer. That's right.
In 2014, an ice storm really damages this tree severely, and it has to be taken down. It is about 100, maybe 125 years old. So, real...
It's a good old tree.
Real legendary tree.
I hate it when trees die or have to be cut down. It's the worst. Yeah. I mean, it's been there longer than the Augusta Nationals has been there. So that says something.
Yeah. We do not have to extend this episode much past what it needs to be. But does this make you think about Ike in some particular way? I mean, is it like humanizing, or is it just weird and kind of like... Baroque? What's the deal?
I think it's humanizing. I think it's humanizing because it's not this strong man coming in and blustering and be like, you have to do what I say. He takes part in the civic process of making his demand. But when they say, no, we're leaving the tree there.
He's storming into the board meeting and getting in the ear of the president of the organization.
He's told
that is
no.
Pure, I want to speak to the manager behavior.
I know that.
Fine. But he says no. He's told no. And he accepts no. And he doesn't, light the golf course on fire.
Right, or like take away their tax status, or
Yes,
like audit
or
them,
yes,
or
yes.
like, rezone the, sure.
But
There are
it's
things
also
you can
like
do as a president to screw
a man
over
with a
Augusta National.
vendetta that is against an inanimate object. First of all, that's the most wholesome thing a man can have a vendetta against.
That's true.
And it's just, it feels like an age-old story. It feels like, Chevy Chase and National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. It feels like, there's sort of like, it's funny and low stakes. That's why I like it.
I go back to priorities.
Fair enough.
I'm like, aren't you supposed to be solving school segregation right now? Like, isn't the South popping off with some crazy stuff? Like, I just don't think that, like, his golf game is important. But then again, I don't care about anybody's golf game. So,
True.
I'm not wedded to that. But, like, but does it make him human? Sure. Does it show me that he's got his priorities in line? Probably not.
Right. What if he cared as much about taking down Jim Crow as he did taking down that tree? What if he marched in more meetings and was like, "You got to do this"?
Yeah, right. And part of it is probably, a little bit that, like, this is a fight that he felt like he could win, or just sort of like really have a direct, immediate impact on. Whereas some
and
of
he
these
still
others
lost.
and he still lost. But Nikki, I take your point that on the sort of toxicity spectrum of masculine behavior, this is pretty low stakes, and I take it as a release valve. But Kellie, to your point about priorities and focus, like, I think about this a lot. That, like, I think we've seen, and it happens in everyone's day-to-day life, and certainly I think when you read accounts of presidents where it's like, they're obsessed with this thing and it's taking their eye off the ball. But I also think there's another way in which it works, which is kind of like the type of people who become president are just always on, always sort of churning, and that, like, this is just part of what it is. Like, you focus on this for a while, you focus on the next thing, and that in a way, the like hyper focus on the tree at Augusta feeds then the kind of energy and the cycle and the sort of hyper intensity that's just required to pull off this job. Exactly. So, I kind of don't always see it as like a zero-sum game of attention when I sort of read accounts like this. But we've also seen plenty of presidents who have gotten like distracted and taken their eye off the ball, so
to speak.
Yeah. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of this episode. I'm glad we got to this one. Nicole Hemmer, thanks to you as always.
Thank you, Jody.
Kellie Carter-Jackson, thanks to you.
My pleasure.
Taking up golfing, not on anyone's New Year's resolutions.
No.
That's right. All right. Thanks for listening to This Day in Esoteric Political History. Our researcher and producer is Jacob Feldman. Our producer is Brittany Brown. Our transcripts, which you can find on our website, are done by Kala Nakua. This Day is a proud member of Radiotopia from PRX, a network of independent, creator-owned, listener-supported podcasts. Audrey Martovich is executive producer. Yuri Lasordo is director of operations. If you want to support the show, tell a friend about This Day and become a member of Radiotopia at whatever level works for you. You can do that at our website, thisdaypod.com. Also on our site, you can find transcripts, sign up for our newsletter, find links to follow us on Instagram and Threads, buy merch like shirts and hats and phone cases, find information about our theme song, give feedback on an episode we've done, or suggest topics for a future episode. That and lots more, thisdaypod.com. My name is Jody Abergan. We'll see you soon.
Radiotopia.